Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. Every single week, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Every single week, NXT is starting to catch up on AEW. Will they actually complete that prophecy? Maybe next week, maybe in 2 more weeks, maybe in a couple months. You never know. It won't be this week, but when I say that they're closer than ever, they are closer than they've ever been before. I'll leave the link down in the description box below, and I'll read the article for you. Last night's episode of AEW Dynamite on TBS averaged 790,000 viewers, in line with last week's 787,000 viewers, and above the prior 8-week average of 731,000. The average viewership through 23 weeks this year is 779,000. For comparison, NXT this week drew 768,000 viewers, as close as the two shows have ever been in a while. Through 23 weeks last year, it averaged 998,000 views. That's AEW, that is. And the key 18 to 49 demo, it drew 0.28 rating, up from a 0.25 last week. The prior 8-week average was 0.25. Through 23 weeks this year, it has averaged 0.27. Through 23 weeks last year, it averaged 0.30. Now, I'm very curious. What was NXT's number? Hang on, let me see. NXT viewership. I'm curious. What was their number last week? Viewership increased once again from last week's show, which averaged 703,000 viewers. Is that right? Is that true? Was that last week's number? Let me look at the chart real quick. Yeah, holy shit. So NXT, I feel like I said the numbers last week too, but I just can't remember what I said last week. So NXT grew 65,000 viewers, right? That's how much they grew versus AEW last week, which I think they just mentioned it already, but I forgot already. Let me see how much they grew from last week compared to this week. They grew, looking at it right now, it's loading up. They grew from last week 787,000. So they only grew 3,000 viewers compared to AEW 65,000 viewers. Does no one look at that and say to themselves, like, that seems like they're a bit in trouble? Now, I know most people are going to probably be like, well, Devontae, it looks like AEW about to get back in their range of 800,000 compared to what they were previously because of the whole NBA stuff. And you may look at that and say to yourself that that's a good thing. I don't know what planet you live on, but as just seen right now, last year, apparently, they were averaging nearly 1 million viewers. Let me not say it like that. I'm lying. The median average was 1 million viewers, damn near 998,000, right? Is that what they said it? Is that how they said it? Yeah, that's what they said. They said through 23 weeks last year, it averaged 998,000. So essentially, this 23-week period versus last year's 23-week period, where now they're averaging 779,000, they dropped nearly 250,000 fans. That's how much they nearly dropped. 250,000 fans. 250,000 viewers gone within that 23-week period compared to last year's 23-week period. So for people who are out there and are celebrating, I mean, never mind the fact that, well, it's only been 3,000 fans that grew since last week. Now you have a developmental brand who are growing exponentially from a percentage standpoint compared to where you were, for the past couple of weeks. You're now there is no you're now. They are now officially competing with NXT all over again. How did you do that? You're now on 2 separate shows. When you guys were competing against each other all those years ago, the whole consensus behind the fact of why you got lower viewership numbers was because you had 2 companies sharing the same audience on the same night. Now they're on 2 separate days. There's no basketball game going on at the moment. Now you have NXT catching up with AEW, and mark my words, they will beat them eventually. They will. And now we're coming out of the show for Sunday also, so I expect NXT numbers to be a little bit higher coming into next week's show. Should I make a proclamation that I'm almost certain that NXT is going to beat AEW next week? I'm not going to go that far. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm brave enough. I don't have the balls to make that declaration, but there is a good shot that NXT's numbers are going to be much higher compared to this week because we're coming out of the Sunday show, which, once again, letting you guys know, I will be reviewing Battleground coming up on Sunday, and that's going to be just a measly 2 days Actually, less than 2 days, because the show's going to probably go off the air around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then NXT is going to come on 8 o'clock at night on Tuesday, right? There's a solid chance that NXT might beat AEW this upcoming week. And to be honest with you, looking at what they did this week, as far as giving you a reason to want to watch next week's show, there's a good shot that they might lose. The whole idea behind this week, I think, has more to do with the fact that MJF was around, right? That was the whole sticking point, which the sticking point, if you will, was the fact that they advertised MJF for last week to happen this week. If you ask me my honest opinion, I'm not here to say that MJF is a humongous draw, but I think he did enough as far as like pushing him over the top. If MJF wasn't here tonight, or here last night, I don't think they would have beat NXT this week. I don't think they would have beat NXT this week. And think about this for a second. You look at NXT, it's not just the fact that they're a developmental brand. They don't have a legitimate draw. They really don't at the moment have a legitimate draw, nor should they, because they're a developmental brand in the end of the day. AEW is the ones with the Jon Moxleys, the Chris Jerichos of the world, you know, you're the ones who, with the Kenny Omegas and the Will Ospreys, right? The Swerve Stricklands, throw them in there also. You have all the supposed Markish fans swimming in their pool, telling everybody, hey, look what I got from underneath the sea. I got a bunch of draws in my hands at the moment, right? Maybe it might be your own draws, but you get what I'm saying though, right? You have all these superstars, all these supposed names, who are now in competition once again with a company that doesn't have any of the names that it had previously when it was in competition with you to begin with. You had less draws at the time of your inception when you went up against NXT versus NXT having certain names. I'm not going to say they had all the names, but essentially almost half your names, as far as your big names are considered, on your current brand at the moment, whether you're talking about Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly or any of those guys, they were on NXT when they were competing against you in your inception, right? They were there in NXT. And now here we are, 3 or 4 years into the future? And now you have all that talent, and they have none of that talent. None. There is not one legitimate name in NXT at the moment. Everybody's just trying to find themselves. Everybody's trying to find their character. Everybody's trying to find where they fit within professional wrestling to get themselves prepared when they go to the main roster. That's what you're competing with at the moment. You're competing with people who are essentially training. And again, this is not like a situation as to where it was a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of years ago, when you had actual names taking on the names that you currently have at that moment. Now you have bigger names. Now you have bigger names come throughout your company, while at the same time previously, that company that you went up against had zero to no names besides the names that you currently have at the moment that you took away from them to begin with. It's actual pure insanity. It's pure fucking insanity. It's not just falling from grace. I think that's really putting it mildly. It's to fuck up so badly to have all the names that you currently have at the moment that you did in the past, the likes of a Cody Rhodes, the likes of a CM Punk, these two guys who are probably the biggest names in WWE currently at the moment, you had in the palm of your hands. The things you could have done with Cody Rhodes in order to help build up your company. The stuff that you could have done with the Elite and CM Punk if you were a real boss and you would have sat them down and talked things through and gave incentives and gave ultimatums because they were both under contract at the time. The amount of things that you could have done to not just go out of your way to start competing with probably Raw, maybe even eventually SmackDown, but maybe even put yourself into a position. Well, hell, it's not as if WWE is currently growing at the moment. They have now just started to stagnate these past couple of weeks. When you look at the show's numbers, when you look at the viewership numbers, they have now, since WrestleMania, have started to stagnate, right? Here's your opportunity where you could have swooped in and done something. No. Instead, you're now going back down. You're digressing, and you have NXT coming up, and now they're competing with you again. That's how far you have fallen, and that's how much NXT has improved, that they're now competing with you again. You know, it's funny. I talked last night when I was doing the whole AEW Dynamite review about the importance of professional wrestling and what people look forward to. Not what the marks look forward to, but what the people look forward to. The people who were in my position when I first started watching wrestling. I consider myself a casual, right? And that's story, that's angles, that's a reasoning to want to tune in to next week, because when it's all said and done, professional wrestling is a TV show. We talked about this all last night. And you look at AEW Dynamite, and not only do they lack the names, not only have they ruined their credibility of most of the top stars, right? You look at the formula that AEW is currently doing at the moment, this chaotic nonsense, indie Dave Meltzer is the only person who's going to like my booking type of formula. They've been doing this now for the better part of 5 years now? Haven't changed up the pace not one fucking bit. Same people that were on top previously are the same people who are on top currently at the moment, right? Hell, in some cases, they even left the company by this point. Or hell, in the case of a Chris Jericho, for example, they might not even be in that same position. But the people you have put in that position to make up for who you lost originally, you haven't even properly prioritized yet. Like people like MJF, for an example. Say what you will as far as him being a draw in regards to getting them over the finish line as far as beating NXT this week. No one gives a shit about MJF. I mean, maybe the AEW faithful, maybe the people within the IWC, they give a shit about MJF, but no one really gives a shit about MJF like that, right? Look at someone, for an example, like a Swerve Strickland. No one gives a shit about a Swerve Strickland, and you've made it that way. You've made it to the point where no one wants to give these guys even the time of day to see their title reigns go through. See how their title reigns are gonna hold up the company, for an example. You know what I mean? Like, and I said this last night, and I'm gonna repeat myself again. I look at the formatting, and it's just the way that AEW books, the way that Tony Khan books. Like I said, with his formatting, no one can ever get over. There is no way for people to get over. You keep taking unknown talent and putting them up against established stars and telling them to go out there and have a good match, and thinking to yourself that your match all along, that's it, nothing else, your match is what's going to be the driving force behind you getting over. No one's going to relate to that. One, because matches in themselves are not going to be what gets you over. That is such an incredibly rare feat. For a match in itself to get you over is so fucking incredibly goddamn rare. And you think to yourself that you can actually go out of your way and do that. As far as new talent is considered, off the top of my dome, and I'm not going to say new in the sense like, they're brand spanking new. Obviously, most of these guys are travel season veterans. But as far as being or having a newly established character that you're trying to get over with an audience, the only superstar who I could think of that got themselves over from a match perspective, honestly, and honestly, there were other tools that were right behind them, but I mean, truly gotten them over for real, was probably like Austin with Brett, and one of the greatest, if not the greatest wrestling match in the history of the business at WrestleMania 13. That's the only match that I could think of off the top of my dome where the actual match in itself not only helped get the superstar over, but it put him into a position where people took his character seriously based off the stuff that he did in the ring. You guys, none of your guys, they do none of that, bruh. None of your guys, when they go inside the ring, do they actually perform with the mindset of, wait, let me see what I can do that's going to accentuate my character going forward. Look at how Swerve Strickland fought Dino Dick last week when he did his finisher on him and everybody thought that was the finish, but Dino Dick kicked out of it. For him to hit a stupid ass side kick to his head, and don't get it twisted, I like the house call, but my point being is, who are you getting over with that? Who are you getting over? You're not helping anybody in the end of the day. And it's that type of booking that they do all the time that's going to be the down. It's going to fucking murder them, bro. That kind of booking right there is going to kill them. That kind of booking right there is going to kill their superstars. Not because obviously the effects that it has on the body, because you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you think matches going out there and having match after match after match after match after match is going to help them get over, when in reality you just put them in predicaments where they can break their fucking necks or break any other body part, like an Edge for an example. But it does nothing for the character at all. And if you do nothing for the character, it does nothing for the quality of that segment. If it does nothing for the quality of that segment, and that same mentality is gone throughout the rest of the card for every other segment, then you just have a terrible show. and you book like this every single fucking week, nobody has a legitimate story playing out throughout the night. No one has anything going for them as far as having to retaliate, as far as the viewership, the viewer themselves, right? Having the viewer retaliate in a sense of like, how can I put this? Wanting to see a retaliation is probably the best way I should put it. As far as seeing a superstar get their comeuppance, right? Or wanting to see them get their revenge in general, or seeing what they're gonna do in order to antagonize the protagonist. None of this stuff ever fucking happens. You show one segment, boom, Bob's your uncle, that's it, going on to the next segment, and no one gets over. You think 20 minutes of wrestling is what's gonna be the end all be all. No, it's not, and no one gets over. In comparison to an NXT, say whatever you want about their matches, and I don't like their matches, and we're not you guys. You guys, you go above and beyond with what you believe wrestling should be from an in-ring perspective, and you actually believe that every damn match has to be a 5-star quality. We get matches like that from NXT on the actual pay-per-views. You don't believe me? Check out NXT Battleground this upcoming Sunday. You will see some 5-star classics on that pay-per-view. What we get on the television show are 4 to 5 minute matches, maybe 1 or 2 matches in the opener or in the main event, or maybe both. You're going to get an over 10 to 15 minute match. But the rest of the matches in the middle, it's slow. I mean, it's not slow, excuse me, I'm not trying to say that, but it's quick is what I meant to say. It's quick, you get in, Bob's your uncle, you get out, you get over what you need to get over, and that's it. And we take all that TV time rather than having 20-minute matches, and we try to get people to relate to the characters throughout our show. That's what's going to help get the television show over. It's just sad because the formatting of NXT should be on every wrestling program. It should be on AEW. It should be on SmackDown. It should be on Raw. Unfortunately, the format is being used on NXT on a bunch of green talent. It's used on a bunch of talent that people don't know the names of and shit like that. So it's not being used to the fullest potential of its ability. But if I can just take the booking format that Shawn Michaels implements within NXT, and I could take that format and put it on SmackDown or put it on Raw, and in my opinion, more importantly, because of the standards and the status that it's currently in right now, if I could put that within AEW Dynamite, oh my god, that would make the viewing experience so much pleasurable. To know that the main superstar and the title that they hold on to has an opportunity to have legitimate exposure, to get over. And it's not to say that NXT does this all the time. Look at Trick Williams. But my point being is, there is at the very, 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 very least, acknowledgement that the world champion happens to be right there, and they care for the world championship, and that world championship is the number one thing on the brand. They could do a better job as far as booking the world champions too, don't get it twisted, but they do it a hell of a lot better than AEW. And more importantly, like I said, if, for an example, Trick Williams were to lose that NXT championship to Ethan Page, that would be a big deal, and it would feel like a big deal. And then you have all the other stuff that's happening throughout the show, building up into the match in itself, building it up into whatever promo segment they're going to do, building it up within whatever main event they're going to do, building it up into the pay-per-view. That format style, like I said, was done throughout the Attitude Era, was done throughout the Ruthless Aggression Era. And you think to yourself, AEW, that you're such an alternative that you're going to do the complete opposite of WWE just for the sake of doing it. Well, look where that's getting you right now. It's getting you fucking nowhere but lower ratings, to the extent that now you're starting to compete with NXT. I said it once, and I'll say it again. The way that he's booking is very, very much obvious that Dave Meltzer's in his guy's ear, and he needs to get him out of his ear. You are the guy who runs the company. You're the billionaire. Just because you were on the forums and all you losers and all you nerds were on there worshiping the fucking throne that Dave Meltzer set his butt cheeks into, and that he farted and that you guys want to get a whiff of it, doesn't mean that that same booking strategy that you thought worked at the time in your little E-Fed forums is going to work in 2024. It's bullshit, it's lazy, and it's lame as fuck. And I don't know if it's a pride thing that makes someone believe that, oh, well, my booking style, it's not working. And, you know, maybe if we keep trying hard enough to take every fucking name from WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling, who happens to be on the free market, the free agent market, maybe then that'll make the program so much better. No, what it does is actually decrease the value of the superstar who you just picked up from New Japan Pro Wrestling or WWE, rather than increasing the actual show in itself. Because like I said it once and I'll say it again. It's the WWE machine on top of what that superstar brings to the table, working in tandem, that gets the company or whatever segment within that company, or whatever rivalry or whatever match or whatever pay-per-view or whatever show, that's what's getting it over. You, on the other hand, your machine is a killing machine, and all it does is take the talent that in otherwise would be in WWE, would be making bank, like a CM Punk for an example. It takes them and it makes them less valuable. And the quicker you understand this, the quicker you get over this prideful nonsense of believing that your booking strategy works, your booking style works. That's the turning point to when I believe AEW will get back into the promised land and maybe, hopefully, grow as a company and be a true alternative. Not an alternative in the sense of, hey, we're going to turn everything up to 10 like WWE is already doing, but a true alternative where we can go to your show or go to your program and expect something completely different, an actual option compared to WWE. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you believe that AEW eventually will beat NXT, or NXT is going to beat AEW this coming week, maybe? Do you believe that all the things that I'm currently saying at the moment makes absolutely no fucking sense because you're that much of an AEW mark and your head's that far up your own ass? Or maybe Tony Khan's ass. Hey, let me know if you see a dildo inside there, okay? My girl's missing one, and she did bring one to the show one time, and Tony Khan sat down, and I'm just saying it's still missing to this very day. But let me know any other of your egregious grievances regarding other men's opinions, and yell in the void if you want to in the comment section. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P. Eyes.